Hey guys, this is Mark with Tech Necessity. Today I'm going to show you how you can not only use Final Cut Pro keyboard shortcuts to make your editing faster and more efficient, but also create your own. If you don't use keyboard shortcuts, then keyboard shortcuts can make your editing a lot faster and more efficient. So if you know Keyboard shortcuts can make your editing a lot faster and more efficient. Today I'm going to tell you about how you can create your own keyboard shortcuts. So let's get into it. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about keyboard shortcuts. Final Cut Pro has a very long list of keyboard shortcuts. I do not know them all. If you do, more power to you, but what I want to show you is the basics of how you can, one, see what those keyboard shortcuts are by default, and two, how you can edit them to make them work better for your editing style. The first thing you need to know is, how do I find out what the keyboard shortcuts are? Well, there's a few ways that you can do that. The first way is if you were to go to your interface, click any of these little drop-down menus, you'll see that they actually have the keyboard shortcut listed right next to it. So the select tool, the keyboard shortcut is A. The zoom tool, the keyboard shortcut is Z. The second way that you can find out what the keyboard shortcuts are is by just simply hovering over any of the little icons that are on the screen. So if I come over to the headphones here, this is the solo button, and I hover over that, you can see that it pops up and it tells me what the keyboard shortcut is for that specific button. The third way that you can find out what keyboard shortcuts are is to go up to the File menu. So if I click on, say, the Mark menu, and I look down here, Set Range Start is I. So I for in, O for out, Set Clip Range, X. So basically this will give you the option to see what the keyboard shortcut is if you look through the menu. The fourth way that you can find out what all the keyboard shortcuts are for Final Cut Pro is by using the Command Editor. So if you go up to the Final Cut Pro menu and you select Commands, Customize, the Command Editor window will pop up. There are a lot of ways that you can search and find out keyboard shortcuts using this Command Editor. Let's just say, for instance, I wanted to know what all the keyboard shortcuts are for the I key. If I click on it, down here, you get the details. So this basically tells me all of the keyboard shortcuts that are associated with the I key. One thing that's important to understand is modifier keys. So Final Cut Pro and Apple have 4 different modifier keys. So the Command key, the Shift key, the Option key, and the Control key. By clicking one of these modifier or multiple modifier keys and then one of these buttons, you can do different things within the interface. So for instance, the I key, if you use no modifier, you can set a range start. If you press Command I, that will allow you to import media. As you can see, there are different colors up here on this keyboard. What these colors actually represent are the different commands. So if you go down here to your command list, you can see these are the colors that are associated with the colors on the keyboard up here. So yellow, for instance, represents tools. This light blue color represents the editing menu. If you want to see what specific keys will do what by using the different modifiers, all you have to do is select them. Now there's a couple ways to do this. If I click on the command button here, you'll notice that the colors change, certain keys change, because by adding that modifier, that key will now do something different than it did before. I can add multiple modifiers by selecting multiple modifiers if I want. Another way to do this is just on this little digital keyboard here. So if I click on the command button here, it's basically the same thing as clicking there. If I click on the shift button, it's the same thing as clicking here. I can also do this on my keyboard at home. So if I was to press the command key up on my keyboard at home, it would change. If I press the shift key on my keyboard at home, it would change. So those are a couple of different ways to see what you can do with the different modifiers. So there's two ways that you can search for different keyboard shortcuts. One is by selecting a letter on the keyboard and then seeing what the keyboard shortcuts are for that. The second way is to actually search what the commands are and then find out the keyboard shortcut. Over here in the command list, you can see I've got all my different menus. So let's just go to editing, for instance. If I click on editing, it shows me what the keyboard shortcuts are for all the different types of editing. So blade tool, blade is command B, blade all, shift command B, lists all these different things. Now you can notice that not all of them have a keyboard shortcut next to it, and those are things that you can add if you want. If you don't want to, they're not in there by default. You can also search a specific command up in the search bar up here. So if I click here, and let's just say I wanted to search lift from storyline. So if I start typing lift, you can see that down here in the command list, you can see that the lift from storyline, and then it shows the keyboard shortcut right next to it. Let's use lift from storyline as an example of a keyboard shortcut that I would like to change. This is something that I do quite a bit, lift from storyline, but rather than having to push two modifier keys and then the up arrow, I'd like to make it just one modifier key and then something that I can remember a little easier. So the first thing you need to do when you want to create your own keyboard shortcuts is to create your own layout. So if I go up to this little drop down menu that says default and I click on it and I go to duplicate, it's going to give me the option to create my own. So I'm going to go and name this demo. And now you can see this is my specific layout. I can always go back to the default by clicking here and going there, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it on demo for now. So let's just say, for instance, lift from storyline. I want to create my own keyboard shortcut for that specific command. There's a couple ways I can do this. One is to select it and just type in what I want the command to be. The other way that I like to do it is to try to associate it with something that I'll remember. So lift from storyline starts with an L. To me, that would make sense. So I'm going to go up here and click on the L key. And then this is going to show me what all the different L key modifiers, everything is. So I can see here that there is no current Shift L keyboard shortcut. So what I'm going to do is actually make lift from storyline Shift L. So if I click on this and I drag it over here, I can drop it right there. So now you can see lift from storyline is now Shift L. So let's go ahead and test that out. So if I click save and I close this, now I will click on this clip here and hit Shift L. It lifts from storyline. So Final Cut Pro is a big program. There are a lot of different functionality to it. There's a lot of different commands. Not every command is listed here. So there are things you can do to create your own. So let's just say, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and I'm going to show you something that I do quite a bit. So let's say I want to change the speed on this clip. There's a couple ways to do that. I can select the clip. I can go up to, if I want to change this to, say, half speed, I could select the clip. I can go up to my modify menu, go down to retime, slow, 50%. Boom. Okay, there. Now it's 50%. I'm going to undo that. Command Z. Another way to do that is to select the clip, press Command R, which will bring up the retime option here. I select here, go to slow, 50%. That's another way to do it. Another way to do it, yet again, would be to just drag this to get the percentage that I would like. I'm going to undo that. But what I want to do is I want to find a way to make that a lot faster. So if I want to create a keyboard shortcut that will allow me to make this clip 50% speed without going through all those other things, the easiest way for me to do that is to create one through the system preferences on my computer. So first thing I'm going to do is go to System Preferences, and I'm going to click Keyboard, and I'm going to go to Shortcuts, and then App Shortcuts, And then I'm going to go ahead and click this little plus sign to add one. Now, I have to select the application I want it to work with, so I'm going to go down to Final Cut Pro. I have to name it, so I'm going to name this 50%. And the reason why it's important to name this, because it's going to basically associate 50% with anything in Final Cut Pro, and I'll show you what that means later. So I'm going to type 50% here, and then I'm going to tell it what keyboard shortcut I want to use. So I'm actually going to use Command Option 5, because right above the 5 key there's a percentage sign. So for me, that's going to be easy to remember. So I click Add, and there it is. That's my new keyboard shortcut associated with Final Cut Pro. So let's go back to Final Cut Pro now. And so in order to use this, let me just show you real quick. So if I go up to the Modify menu now, and I go down to Retime Slow, next to the 50%, you'll notice that it shows the Option Command 5 keyboard shortcut that is now assigned to that. So if I want to change this clip to 50%, I select it and I go to Option Command 5, and it changes the clip to 50%. Let's say I want to make this one 50%. Select it, Option Command 5, 50%. So that's an easy way for me to create my own keyboard shortcut that's going to make my life a lot easier when I'm trying to just make these adjustments that I do on a daily basis. Now, when I told you before, when you create a keyboard shortcut and I put in the 50%, it's going to associate 50% with everything that says it's labeled 50% in Final Cut Pro. So let's just say right here, see how there's a percentage up here? So if I drop this down, notice 50% here now also has the Command Option 5 keyboard shortcut. What that means is if this window is selected and I do Command Option 5, it's going to change to 50%. So depending on which window you have selected, what you have selected, that's going to differentiate. And it only does that because there are multiple things in Final Cut Pro that are associated with this percentage. So once you have customized all of your keys exactly the way you want them to be, all you have to do is click the Save button and then close this window. Once you get your keyboards set up the way you want, it's going to make your editing a lot more efficient. Well, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you next time on Tech Necessity.